No, keep singing, Ben. Keep singing. Go.
It's a new Benjarovsky, very serious. And I'm going to start smoking a pipe. No more singing, Dennis. Those days are over. I'm smoking a pipe.
Is that a turtleneck you're wearing?
Oh, no. It's a T-shirt.
Oh.
It's actually a tie and a jacket, part of my new serious look.
Yeah. Looks good. Looks good.
You know, Dennis, I think we should change our whole appearance. We should be more serious. That's the sound of the pipe, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, add it to the long category here. The list, the catalog. Add it to the catalog of impressions.
Oh, the pipe.
Yeah.
Oh yes, a pipe. John Kenneth Galbraith.
Okay, what are we doing? We're live. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. Your Benjarovsky show for Thursday, February 11th is just moments away. Wait, everything good over there, Ben? You dropped some pin. You dropped like 8 pins at one time, right there.
It's actually a pencil and 2 pens, but I digress.
Hey, let's thank our sponsors. SEIU Healthcare, Illinois, Indiana are sponsors. The Chicago Federation of Labor sponsor this program, as well as the Chicago Reader, chicagoreader.com. Check it out for all things there is to know the city of Chicago. Weekly columns from Ben Joravsky, and coming very soon, oh yes, a book from Ben Joravsky. Oh my goodness, yes, he's very excited about this book. Oh, he's cheering, everybody. That's going to be coming out. More details on that coming up very soon. All right, let's get today's program underway. You do have a song of the day, and it is by, oh, good Lord, one of the worst singers I think ever, Rod Stewart. Maggie May by Rod Stewart.
You know, let me just say this about that. I'm not a Rod Stewart fan at all. He butchers so many great songs, but I must admit, D, it's a kind of a mandolin solo in Maggie May. I love it, and I know it by heart. And when it comes on the radio, I'll go, that's the mandolin. Oh, Maggie, I wish I'd never seen your face. By the way, Frank, thank you very much for sending me that Jay Leno. Oh, my God, D. Frank sent me a Jay Leno bit for the 1990s. I cannot believe this man was on TV. He's so disgraceful. Monica Lewinsky monologue. Frank, thanks for sending it to me. I sent it to like 20 other people. Sorry about that tangent, D.
Not a problem. I got to say, your version there of Maggie May by Rod Stewart may have been better than Rod Stewart. For the first...
Maggie, I wish I'd never seen your face.
I got to say, for the first time ever, you may have outperformed the actual artist. Whoa.
You made a first-class fool out of me. Come on, D. But I'm as blind as D can be. Get it? You see how I did that? I blind as D can be. I made it rhyme. Hoo-hoo.
The Benjarovsky Show starts now. It is Thursday, February 11th, and live from my apartment and his attic, this is the Benjarovsky Show. Today on the program, the long-awaited return of Jacobin magazine's own Micah Uetricht. And now your host, owner of 1,000 pens and pencils.
Most of which are falling on the floor right now.
Chicago Reader columnist Benjarovsky.
Hello, everybody. Benjarovsky here. We're calling this Twitter Tandon Thursday. And here's why. Big brouhaha in Washington yesterday sort of lost amidst the impeachment process. A showdown between Senator Bernie Sanders and Neera Tandon. President Biden nominated Tandon to head the Office of Management and Budget, a big-time job with a big-time responsibility. Bernie, of course, my favorite Democrat, although he's not technically a Democrat, chairs the Senate Budget Committee. As such, his committee has to approve her confirmation. And when she showed up the other day for her confirmation meeting, it was like, well, what goes around comes around. A few things you should know. Neera Tanden is a longtime Hillary Clinton aide. She's the president of the Center for American Progress, a centrist think tank, as opposed to a lefty think tank. A liberal or centrist think tank is one where they pull their punches. Think about like Tim Ryan, Congressman Tim Ryan, or Senator Amy Klobuchar in last year's Democratic debates, actually 2 years ago. You know, when they talked about Medicare for all, well, let's not do anything too controversial, people. Don't want to alienate those swing voters in Wisconsin. In addition to being a centrist, Tandon is what you might call a recovering Twitter junkie. And I'm just going to say this straight up, folks. Neera Tanden has a problem. She actually tweets more than Donald John Trump. It's true. Politico did an investigation of this. Man, can you imagine being the political staffer stuck with that job? I got to count out how many tweets she did. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, according to Politico, Tandem joined Twitter in 2010, a year after Trump, and then in the last 10 years, she's tweeted 88,000 items. Where's that butter cow guy? 88,000. That's thousands with a T. And Trump, meanwhile?
It's the butter cow, which has 9 hearts to represent the 9 essential nutrients in milk. That's right, it's made entirely out of butter, and it's a state fair tradition since at least 1922.
I actually had that pulled up from yesterday.
Oh, yeah, wait, 1922. Anyway, she's tweeted 88,000 tweets. That's 88,000 with a T. And Trump, here's the drum roll. He's tweeted 57,000. Hold on, bring in Danny Biss to do the math. Hold on, guys. Dan Biss, really good at math. Here we go. Carry the 1. That's about 30,000 more tweets. Hold on, let's give Dennis a little time to catch up on the math. Yep, he confirms it. He's nodding his head. Yep, I did it. That's really nasty stuff she's been tweeting, too. A lot of it directed at Bernie and Bernie bros. Just saying. She hates Bernie, ladies and gentlemen. She's one of those Hillary Clinton supporters who blames Bernie for Hillary having lost the race in 2016, even though Bernie really had nothing to do with it, because he was out there campaigning for Hillary, getting Bernie bros a little irritated. He did his best, but no, they still blame him. The place is crawling with Hillary Clinton supporters like that. And many of them are my friends, D. In fact, I was talking to one just last night. He will remain anonymous. I believe he said that mother beep in Bernie. It's only been 5 years, folks. Get over it already. Actually, who am I to talk about getting over things? I got grudges going back to the 70s. Anyway, Tandon takes it a little further than most of my Hillary-loving friends. She tweets the stuff out. I read a New York Times story about this just the other day, and I'll quote from it. This is a story about Tandon from a couple years ago. One recent night, Ms. Tandon feuded on Twitter with liberals over whether Hillary Clinton condemned far-right hate mongers strongly enough more than 2 years ago. The online bickering raged for an hour, drawing trolls from both factions when the women originally targeted about Ms. Tandon's tweets delivered a wake-up call. Quote, Neera, you're responding to a graduate student on Twitter at 1:40 in the morning. That's a cry for help, my friends. You're up at 1:30 in a Twitter war with a graduate student. I'm up at 1:30, but I'm not tweeting. I'm like reading a book or something. Tweeting at 1:30 in the morning? Anyway, real nasty stuff she's tweeted about Republicans, not just Bernie, but Republicans. She said this about Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, and I quote, vampires have more heart than Ted Cruz. I kind of actually agree with that statement, but whatever. Moving on. Yesterday, she was singing a different song when she came before Bernie's committee, one that went a little like this. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't do it, and I won't do it again. Sorry, Senator Bernie. Please forgive me and approve me because I really want this job. Bernie ripped her for her tweets. And then a Republican Senator, John Kennedy, from Louisiana, read back her tweets, leading to this classic exchange. Kennedy, quote, you called Senator Sanders everything but an ignorant slut. was like a joke. I don't think she really called him an ignorant slut, but she denied it. She goes, I never called him that. And then she said, I must have meant them, but I really regret them. Must have meant them, but I really regret them. Like, that's like a Marjorie Taylor Greene-like apology. What does that even mean? Of course you meant them. And of course you don't regret them. That's why you tweeted them. Because you really wanted to hurt somebody with your wise-ass tweet. You wanted to stick that needle where it would really hurt them. And then you wanted everyone who agreed with you to go, yeah, tell it like it is, Nira. Look, here's the thing. Twitter is a cesspool. If you want to be a badass tweeter, going into that sludge, that's fine. But I think it's a little contradictory to be a middle-of-the-road economist who wants to help poor people, but don't help them too much because you don't want to get Big Pharma mad at you, and be a badass tweeter. It's kind of like you're one or the other. And if you are a badass tweeter, don't back down when you want the mainstream gig. Own it. If you said that vampires have more heart than Ted Cruz, stand by it. Otherwise, don't say it at all. We've got a great show today, everybody. Yes, as Dennis said, Michael Uetricht from Jacobin magazine in these times. He's been known to have a Twitter battle or two with Nira Tandon. So we'll talk about that. But we're also going to talk about Karen Lewis. Micah wrote the book on the Chicago Teachers Union strike of 2012. So we'll talk about Karen's legacy. Get in some impeachment talk. I'm sure Micah will chastise me for shaming voters. That's one of his favorite things to do, D. Big time Bernie Sanders supporter. He comes with, don't shame the voters. And he's going to display those great pipes of his and make us feel real bad. Oh. Hey. And we might have a little alligator talk. Loves alligators, that Mike.
We can't let that gator story go, all right? What was it, 2019? What is it, 2021?
Hold on, man. COVID.
Okay. Still not funny after all these months.
Don't worry, it's over. You didn't know?
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, Lori Lightfoot. Yeah, it's over. Go back to school. Right? Go. Yeah. So, you didn't know? You must have missed that story.
I did. I guess I did.
Yeah.
Well, we aren't on. Yeah, we're not on Monday. We're not live on Mondays, so I guess I must have missed that.
Anyway, we'll bring on Micah. Love talking to Micah. Before we do that, the young man from Alton, the man that Nira Tandon happily calls the doctor with the news.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish, some turtles. No gators yet, though.
We love that story.
Oh, the summer of 2019. I miss it.
Oh, yes. You barely remembered it.
Hey, man, I got issues with memory. It's discovered a little earlier today. Should we let that cat out of the bag? Should we let it out there, D?
Yeah, you didn't know who the crocodile hunter was.
Yeah. Dennis, we were talking. I don't know how did this subject come up? Oh, because I told you Micah was on, and I thought you were talking about the alligator, and he mentioned a crocodile.
Oh, yeah, because Micah loved talking about that alligator story. I said, rumor has it Micah was considered in that reboot of the Crocodile Hunter.
And I didn't know, what? Say what? And then I wasted about 5 minutes of my life reading about the guy. He's actually kind of a cool guy, Crocodile Steve. But anyway.
Well, wait until you waste hours of your life watching videos of it.
That's next. At 1:30 in the morning, I won't be tweeting. I'll be watching Crocodile Steve. Oh, wow, that's really cool, man. Anyway, enough chit-chat. It's time for the news with the man from home.
We don't chit-chat during this segment at all. All right, before we find out what's happening in Chicago and or Illinois, for the third and, sadly, final time this week. That's right. No live show tomorrow, guys. Vacation day.
Can I tell them what you're doing, please? Please?
No.
Okay.
All right, go. I'm going skiing. I'm going skiing in Michigan. See how this goes.
You know what? I kind of warned you about this. I've gone skiing once in my life. It was so horrible. I never made it off the bunny hill. I hated the cold. I went into this night. Oh my God, D. The year was 1971. You weren't even born yet. I went into the lodge and just hung out watching TV till my friends were done. I was like, I'm never doing this again. But you know what? You may like it. You're a rugged outdoor type. You got a Burley and chop wood.
Yeah,
I think you're going to really enjoy this, man.
All right, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I've never skied in my life. 37 years old. I thought, I'll probably never ski in my life ever. But here we go. So we'll see how it goes.
You don't even have to worry about wearing a mask because COVID's over. You didn't hear about that?
Okay.
Yeah, COVID's over. So
I'm wearing a mask. Okay. Yeah, no show tomorrow, all right? But don't worry, because we're the Benjarovsky Show, and come hell or high water, we drop content every single day at chicagoreader.com and wherever else you download podcasts. So let's run through the lineup of what we got planned here. Friday, like we said, no live show, but downloadable by 5 a.m. on Friday. The Illinois State Rep returns. It's almost Senator Kelly Cassidy. Ben, tell us about our interview with KC.
Kelly Cassidy came into the studio the other day. I thought she was going to be Senator Cassidy, but she was outmaneuvered in the committeeman process. So we talked a little bit about that. We talked about the budget. We talked about reefer. Lots of great talk. We talked about Karen Lewis. We talked about being convert to Judaism. It was like a really great, fun conversation with Kelly. I thought Kelly was really loose. And whatever pressure she was facing over being battling it out in front for the committeeman for the Senate seat have passed. Mixed feelings about it. On one hand, everybody knows Kelly's one of my favorites. I want her to get the gig, but on the other hand, she still has the seniority in the House. And so she's going to be in a position to, we talk about this, to deal with getting laws that sort of, make things a little fair for poor people who get arrested. So criminal justice issues, restorative justice issues. So we talk about a lot of issues, a really wide-ranging interview with the great Kelly Cassidy.
Okay, Jay Marie on the live stream chat. I'm not bougie. I'm going skiing, all right?
He's going skiing. Give him a break, man. He's going skiing. He may like it. He make a bend. I love it.
Glass half full. Glass half full. I'm gonna love it. It's gonna be great. We're gonna ski that hill or whatever it is. Slope.
Gee, they got this thing called a bunny hill. It's like barely a hill.
Oh, it's like the kiddie pool or something.
Yes, and I went to the bunny hill, and I flunked at the bunny. I'm like, this is no fun. Most of them have lodges with TVs, so, if all else fails, go sit inside and drink some hot cocoa.
Once again, not bougie. Okay, on to Saturday. The Legal Eagle is back. It's Ace Attorney Jim Coogan. Well, we're going to be talking with him after today's show. Ben, give us a little idea of what you're going to be asking Jim Coogan.
Well, we'll be going through the impeachment process and the legal arguments for impeaching Donnie Trump. But I also think I'm going to have a talk. Jim Coogan's day job, when he's not on the Benjarovsky Show, is he's a plaintiff's attorney. And so I'd really like to get into a conversation with him about the impact that the lawsuits have had on Fox TV, et cetera, and so forth. And maybe this is what it takes to get a little truth in journalism. So probably branch off from impeachment talk and go there in that direction as well. Anyway, I love talking legal issues with Jim Coogan. He's really smart. And he's not afraid to tell it like it is. So Jim Coogan, looking forward to that.
He's a good man, that Jim Coogan. That'll be available on Saturday by 5 a.m. On to Sunday. You know what? Sunday, we had such a good interview with Stacy Davis Gates, Vice President of the Chicago Teachers Union. We want everyone to hear it. We're just going to repost that bad boy on Sunday. Isn't that right, Ben?
Yes. Love that interview. Stacy she just let it go. She's talking about Karen. It was really raw, too, because Karen died the announcement was Monday, and so it was within 24 hours. Stacy Davis Gates was very honest about it. She owes her career to Karen Lewis. Karen Lewis saw something in Stacy and promoted her and allowed her to become the lobbyist, the chief political director for the Chicago Teachers Union, and that's how Stacy learned firsthand how Springfield works, how the city council works. She knows all the players in the game, ladies and gentlemen. Very shrewd, knowledgeable political observer. But it was Karen Lewis who gave her that break, who said, I think you could do this. I'm going to appoint you to do this. And so Stacy speaks from the heart. Good interview.
All right. That's going to be on Sunday. And on to Monday, Personal Pack CEO Terry Cosgrove made his return. But he wasn't alone, was he, Ben?
No, Julie Hamos. It was really interesting conversation we had. Julie Hamos and Paula Perdue and Terry Cosgrove. And these are three people that love to talk. So I barely got a word in edgeways, which is just fine. And so what spurred this is that I watched the TV series Mrs. America that talked about the fight for the ERA and centered on some of the leading characters in this fight, both on against and for. And Julie and Paula were on the front lines for the ERA fight, back in the 70s. And so they were speaking from firsthand experience. And so was Terry. He was a young Politico. And we talk about Phyllis Schlafly, the right-winger who helped defeat the ERA in the state. We talk about Shirley Chisholm, the legendary congresswoman from New York City who was a leading advocate of the ERA, Bella Abzug. We talk about how the lessons of yesterday applied to today. It was a wide-ranging interview and went on many great tangents. It was a blast. Dee, like these were three really smart people who had a lot to say. And I could like sit back and smoke a doobie and enjoy it.
And my kind of people too, because very smart, had a lot to say. And they, didn't mind throwing in the F word a few times. You know what I mean? I like that.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. I think we're going to do more of these. Get people on the show, like a group of people who have something to say. I like people who come on and talk. Dee, I got my favorites mainly because they talk. You get these guests on, they go, you ask them a question, they give you 2 words, and they look at you like, well, that's about all I got to say. Well, why would you come on a podcast? Nope, not going to say any more than that. Those people, we won't name names, but they don't get invited back. I'm like, oh, God. Too much work.
All right, it's tomorrow's pre-recorded Benjarovsky show. Kelly Cassidy and this weekend's Benny J bonus interviews. Saturday, Jim Coogan. Sunday, SDG, Stacy Davis Gates. Monday, Terry Cosgrove. And a couple of ladies who just are cursing like sailors. Go check it out, chicagoreader.com, and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. Hold on one second, I have a phone call. Yes, I'd like to order caviar. And sorry, I'm on the phone. And Don Perignon, yes, please.
Yeah, and lobster.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. And don't forget the lobster. Not bougie.
He's not bougie, all right? He's just going skiing. He doesn't even have skis. He's going to ski in his shoes, okay?
I'm bringing a sled.
Dude, you may love skiing. You may just like, oh my God, I'm really good at this. And then the next thing you know, it's like, Ben, I'm moving to Utah. I want to ski the Rockies.
You never know.
You never know, man.
While you guys are listening to those podcasts, I may just be out on the slopes. Oh my God, I'm a changed man. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have a great time.
If you do become a changed man, don't try to change me, Ben. You gotta do it, man. There's nothing like it, dude. You gotta do it. Like, that's all right, man. That's okay. Glad you like it.
All right, local news. Let's do it. We begin in Illinois, and our Illinois governor's vaccination site tour continues.
Face coverings.
Yes, face coverings.
Oh, God.
J.B. Pritzker began his day in Elgin, Illinois. He was at the Elgin Mental Health Center at 10 a.m. to highlight a new Illinois Department of Human Services vaccination site. A quick Illinois vaccination site tour update. Ben, did you know that more than 100 vaccination sites have recently been added in Illinois?
I did not know that.
Well, it's true. Now, Governor, tell us more about it.
Making an appointment, however, is still an endeavor that requires enormous patience because we still have not received enough vaccine to provide for everyone who is eligible in Phase 1B. This is extraordinarily frustrating.
I see. Now, what about that
we
website?
We continue to update the coronavirus.illinois.gov website with the latest vaccination locations available across the state, including new sites at some of the Meijer and Walmart locations. So our residents can connect wherever they are with the most convenient options.
What a joke. What a freaking joke. The whole thing. I can't say this enough. Our whole economy, our whole society has been plagued for almost a full year by this virus. We have a solution to it, and yet, for some reason, called capitalism, we cannot get everybody the vaccine. And it's so bizarre because like half the country doesn't think we have the virus is a real thing. You know, that's MAGA. So I guess what? If you voted for Trump, should you be allowed to get a vaccine? I mean, you kind of were dedicated to the notion that it wasn't real. So if you don't think it's real, why do you need the vaccine? I'm just throwing that out there, D, right? That's half the. Then there's a good chunk of the people who are worried about the vaccine. I just saw that Robert Kennedy's son has been kicked off of Facebook because he's been publishing these posts that question whether the vaccine is harmful or not. There's a fight within an argument, I should say, within the Kennedy family on this. There was one of his, I think it was his niece, took issue with him in an essay in the New York Times. So it's like we have a segment of the country that won't take the vaccine because they think it's harmful. We have a segment of the country that thinks the whole thing is made up. It's a plot by the Democrats to destroy Donald Trump. And then we got all these people that are being ordered to go to work, but there's no vaccine for them. And somehow or other, like if you know the right person, you could jump ahead of the list, ahead of the people who are on the front lines that really need it. And yes, Governor Pritzker is correct. I talked about this yesterday after reading Mark Brown's column in the Sun-Times. I was inspired. I made a few phone calls to the state hotline, and this is generally what you hear when you call the state hotline. I haven't heard a busy signal in years. It's just like nostalgic. I was like, I feel like going back to the 70s. Let me hear a busy signal. I know. I'll call the state vaccine hotline. Freaking joke. I just read Germany's having troubles too. I read that in the paper today too. They can't get in other vaccines. And they can figure out how big pharma's got like control over it. They don't want to release. They don't want to release too much. You know what I'm saying? Just dribs and drabs. Just enough to keep you happy. A segment of everybody else wanting more makes it more valuable. What a weird world we live in, D. A very weird world. Meanwhile, poor Governor Pritzker is trying to sound as though like there's a solution in the future. Like people with the great minds are working on it. Every day, I feel sorry for the guy, D. I really do. Every day he's struggling. Well, we're really working hard at this. Well, meanwhile, what they got, this is the sound of the vaccine in Illinois.
What a crummy sound. We also learned Wednesday that the state will be expanding eligibility for Phase 1B of the COVID-19 vaccination rollout. What are we talking about here, JB?
So we're talking about people who have diabetes. We're talking about people who have cancer or who have had cancer or COPD or heart disease. Those who are under 65 and live with comorbidities have an elevated risk of serious complications or even death if they contract COVID-19. So as quickly as we receive enough vaccine supply, we need to waste no time in protecting them.
By the way, I know a lot of teachers who said they should be excused from going into the classroom because they live with people like that who are vulnerable to death. And I remember the CPS attitude was tough luck. Get in that Petri dish now. So you got the governor saying we're really going to do everything we can to put people who are really vulnerable at the top of the list. Of course, we don't have enough vaccines for them, so we're doing everything we can, but we don't have the vaccines. And then you got the leading health experts in the city of Chicago saying, teachers, parents, send those little kidlets back to school. It's okay. Don't worry about it. So what if a teacher gets it? You're young and strong as a horse. Hey.
We had a cow yesterday, and today's a horse. We're trying to get that toddler audience,
Oh, Wilbur. That's my Mr. Ed imitation. You're strong as a horse, teachers. Get in that classroom. And I don't care if Granny's sick at home. Just put her in another room and don't talk to her. These kidlets need to be in a classroom. They're not learning enough. You know, it's so funny. I'm just going to go on this tangent. Oh, my God. The editorial pages are so concerned. The kids are spending too much time on the internet. Have you ever seen a kid a normal day? That's all they do is look at their phone. Like, now they're worried about it. It's really concerned. She's not reading Shakespeare. I'm sorry, guys. You're such frauds. All of a sudden, you're worried about the kids. Very concerned about the kids. They're not keeping up. The kids from Englewood aren't keeping up with the kids from Kenilworth. Oh, you just noticed that? This just woke up? You realize the kids from like a poor community in Chicago, inadequate schooling, are not doing as well as kids from like rich areas? Whoa. This just in, breaking news. And as soon as the pandemic's over, it's going to go right back to the way it is. You know, then they'll start telling you the other thing. This is what the education reformers, in quotes, Karen Lewis, I love you. She called them deformers, would say, you know, class size doesn't really matter. We got to study here. Let's squeeze more kids into that classroom. Meanwhile, they were sending their kids to private schools where teacher contracts limited the size of the class to like 20. But when it came to poor kids, shove them in like sardines. Doesn't matter. Oh, man. It's really funny how we deal with the pandemic in the city of Chicago, D.
And before we move on, you know, yesterday it was pretty good. Can we hear your Mancow impression? Where the press speaks to Mancow and then Mancow responds.
Yeah, okay. Well, the Mancow is, as Dennis has pointed out, that's a disc jockey. Legendary disc jockey, shock jock, as they call it, from the city of Chicago, is thinking of running as a Republican for governor. And so his name is Mancow. So I guess if he's elected governor, he'll be Governor Cow. So they'll have a press conference, Governor Cow, about the vaccines, to which he'll say,
Oh my God!
And then his chief budget advisor will be Mr. Ed, and he'll turn to his health advisor will be Mr. Ed. Let's talk about the vaccines. Okay, Wilbur. That's like the whole Mancow administration.
It's good stuff.
And then they'll have a gator in there.
Okay, let's stop it there. The horse was good. The cow was excellent. That was terrible. I don't even know. That was.
Here comes the COVID.
Okay, still not funny after all these COVID.
Governor Cow.
All right. In other statewide news, and just when you thought the season of giving was long gone and over, a little gift was dropped off to the Benjarovsky show this morning. Now, Ben, what's the one thing we love doing more than any other thing on this program?
Talking about smoking reefer but not actually doing it?
No. What's the other thing? We do like doing that, but what's the other thing?
I don't know. What? I give up. We didn't talk about this in the pre-show.
No more guesses? That's it?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, boy. Well, surprise. It's playing political campaign ads.
Oh.
And today, literally from out of nowhere, oh, you are just killing it today. Literally from out of nowhere comes an anti-Adam Kinzinger ad. What?
Oh my! You got to be kidding me! I did not know this.
No.
Wait. Do that breaking news thing. Oh my God! We did not talk about this in the pre-show.
Please don't share that with everyone. The following comes from Shia Kapos in Illinois Politico. Progressive groups have launched a 7-figure ad campaign against 4 Republican members of Congress, including Illinois Republican Adam I'm Not MAGA Kinzinger, demanding they vote for a COVID relief package. The Relief Now campaign, led by a group called Tax March, put the ad out. And boy, they are laying it into old Kinzinger.
Wait, hold on. Back up. 7 figures, so let me do the math. So they spent over $1 million, is that what you're saying?
That's what it says here.
Okay. All right. And what's their thing? Their COVID? What do they do?
The Relief Now campaign, led by a group called Tax March, put the ad out.
Yeah, but
And they're demanding they vote for a COVID relief package.
They want a relief package right now, so they're going after Kinzinger. Okay. I'm trying to follow this. Go ahead. Sorry, D.
I have the ad, and we're about to hear it. But first, Ben, I've noticed on this show, you've been defending Adam Kinzinger a little bit. Yes, you have.
Yes.
So before we hear it, let's make your case here from Kinzinger.
Well, Kinzinger's one of the few Republicans. I'm trying to think, is he the only one in the state of Illinois? There's guy Butler, the state rep from Springfield area, but he's pretty much the only one. He's definitely the most prominent one who says that Donald Trump can be impeached. I don't know how anyone could draw any other conclusion if you watch the impeachment proceedings that are going on in Washington. I don't know how you could draw any other conclusion. Donald Trump incited a MAGA riot. His MAGA cultists following his direction tried to overtake the Capitol and reverse the certification of the election that Joe Biden won. So I don't know how you can draw any other conclusion. The only thing you can do is try to find weasel out of it, on some technicality. Well, actually, technically, he's cannot be punished because he's no longer the president. I mean, so I gotta respect Kinzinger, even though he is a Republican and most of his constituents are MAGA supporters. Most of his Republican constituents are MAGA supporters for standing up to MAGA. So that's my position on one, Adam Kinzinger.
It's a pretty good position. I mean, I said he's full of shit, and I kind of still believe it, but it's still a good position. All right, so I have the ad here. Once again, this is a group called Tax March, one of several. Actually, I found a few more ads. We'll just, spread them out maybe next week or something. Maybe after our interview with Micah, we'll play another one. But we're going to play this one here. This one's targeting old Adam Kinzinger. And once again, the Relief Now campaign is the name of the campaign. Here is the Kinzinger ad.
During this pandemic, the rich got richer and the well-to-do are doing pretty well. Because politicians like Adam Kinzinger reward them with tax breaks for private jets and yachts. But for the tens of thousands in Illinois out of work due to COVID, Kinzinger's a hard no on relief. With Adam Kinzinger, those with billions hit the jackpot. Those who need relief get jack squat. Tell Kinzinger, those
good.
Out of work are out of time. Pass COVID relief now.
So let me get this straight. Is this coming from the right or is this coming from the left? Or is it coming from the right pretending they care? You know what I mean? Is this like an attempt by the right to take an issue that a Bernie supporter would champion and use it to go after Kinzinger to undercut? Is this undercut his efforts to impeach Donald Trump? Is that what they're doing? Or is it like political jujitsu? This is the first I've heard of this.
Yeah, it says here progressive groups.
So they're progressive groups.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're lefties like me. Mm-hmm. They're raising good points about are they going after anybody else other than Adam Kinzinger?
It says here they're going against 4 Republican members of Congress. Don't have the names, but one of them is Adam Kinzinger.
Huh. I mean, they're all. That's why when I heard this, I thought that initially the ad was going after Kinzinger for betraying MAGA. This ad, this is what Heidi Henry and Murray Briel are talking about. Heidi Henry and Murray Briel are good, strong lefties, New Deal Democrats. They're out in Kinzinger country. Murray Briel ran in the Democratic primary a few years ago for the right to run against Kinzinger. Heidi Henry has been opposed to Kinzinger for years. Why? Because he's your basic conservative Republican. He's against abortion rights. He's against any kind of environmental controls. He supported Donald Trump on 95% of the issues. He was for tax breaks for the rich. These are all reasons why lefties would be against him and why many Democrats, Danny B. just last November, tried to defeat him. So, yeah, I don't think any self-respecting lefty Democrat, given a choice between Adam Kinzinger and a good Dem, would vote for Adam Kinzinger. But if this is a dastardly move by MAGA to co-opt the issues that matter so much to people like me and Dennis and Heidi Henry and Murray Briel, and use it against Adam Kinzinger to rile up, to undercut his support among lefties, that's a pretty good political move.
That's deep.
Like jiu-jitsu. I'm like, whoa, brilliant. So I need to know more about this, D. But do a little deep dive. While you're on the slopes tomorrow, Jean-Claude Keely Dennis, that's a great skier from the 60s, D. I will be studying this on the internet.
Yeah, like I said, there are more ads. I'll try to play another one after our interview with Micah. How about that?
I can't argue with that ad. It's just like if it's done by a Trump guy, I'm like, all right, that's bogus. You guys had your turn to do something for COVID. You didn't do anything.
And what do you think about that one thing they said there? Kinzinger's getting the jackpot while the people make jack squat.
That's the part of where I laughed.
That was awesome.
I don't know if you heard that. Yeah. It's a good line. Micah write that ad? Micah write that ad?
Possibly.
I'll have to ask him when he comes on the show.
Possibly. All right, on to Chicago news. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
We are out of runway.
Still don't know what that means.
Okay, yeah. What's Mayor Lightfoot up to, D?
Today the mayor was at William H. Brown School of Technology at 9 a.m. for CPS's return to in-person learning. Yes, just like that. The deal has been cut between Mayor Lightfoot, her Chicago Public Schools team, and the Chicago Teachers Union, and teachers are returning to the classroom starting today, Thursday, February 11th. After the big news, on Wednesday night, the mayor, along with Chicago Public Schools CEO Janice Jackson, held a virtual town hall about it. Madeline Kinney of the Chicago Sun-Times wrote about it. During a virtual town hall Wednesday evening, Mayor Lori Lightfoot stressed that teachers' and students' health are a top priority as some prepare to go back to the classroom on Thursday. Less than 24 hours after Chicago Teachers Union members approved Chicago Public Schools' plan to return in-person learning, more than 500 people tuned into the live stream hosted by Lightfoot CPS CEO Janice Jackson and Dr. Allison Arwady. Now, Ben, let's pause it right here. There's a rumor going around now that you were on this, one of those 500. You were doing a little trolling in this virtual town hall. Please tell me that's not so.
I wish it were so, but
are you sure?
When it comes to the Zoom thing, I'm always a little uncertain.
Oh, yeah, you're playing
that
angle, but I do have a screenshot here of a one Bulls fan 420 and a live stream comment of "Come on, man!" exclamation mark. I don't know. It kind of sounds like you.
I guess I've been outed. Come on, man. That's pretty good.
Actually, most of the viewers were.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So what? You got a problem with that?
Actually, most of the viewers were CPS parents and students who sought clarity on the district's reopening plan.
Clarity on the district. And good luck on that one.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think Bulls fan 420 may be you. I'm just saying.
Bulls fan for. Hey, how about Zach last night, huh?
Okay, no more sports talk. The hour-long discussion covered vaccine availability for teachers, air quality in school buildings, and contact tracing. Arwady said about 7,500 CPS staff members are scheduled to get vaccinated, and some have already received a dose. Here's the quote from Arwady, quote, "Vaccine is a part of the strategy, but just as a reminder, schools are safe."
Oh, yeah.
Now, let's let Arwady finish, please. She goes on saying, even without the vaccine, they've been open all over the country without seeing them be a source of significant spread. Mayor Lori Lightfoot said the current plan can limit the spread of the virus, pointing to the, quote, proven success of the first 3 weeks of having preschool and cluster students and teachers return to the classroom earlier this year. Lightfoot said, quote, "Our schools are safe. We are continuing to evaluate and look at more things that we can do, but we feel very confident that we have a very solid plan for those of you who are coming back into the schools in the classrooms." And CPS CEO Janice Jackson encouraged parents to report possible violations of the district's COVID-19 protocol to their school's principal. She said, quote, "We can't guarantee a COVID-free environment, but the protocols that we have in place are there to slow the spread and stop the spread of COVID.
Oh, all right, if you say so. We're going to bring Slugger back. Remember Slugger was on the show a couple weeks ago, D? She's a Chicago public school teacher. Was telling it like it is. Let's see if, remember, like they were going on, Lori Lightfoot and Janice Jasher saying everything's being taken care of, it's safe as all hell. It turns out like people weren't even wearing masks in the school. So let's see if they've gotten that together. Very skeptical, very dubious. Don't understand this. I'm watching this. I just read it again. Germany was so proud. They were so proud of the fact that they didn't have as high of an infection rate as the United States, and they didn't have as many people dying from it as the United States. And they opened up their schools. And guess what? Then they closed their schools. Then they opened their schools, and now they're going to have to close them again. It's like, I just think mankind is not ready to deal with this, D. You know what I'm saying? It's just too much. It's just blowing people's minds. They can't deal with this interruption. They politicize absolutely everything. So you got MAGA who says it's not real. And now it's like centrist Dems. This is like their thing. Open the schools. And it's a sign, what? That they believe in education? They never support education really strongly unless there's the vaccine. But now they really support it. So this is how they're going to prove it. Open up the schools. Get in there. Huh? The vaccine is still, the pandemic's still around? We don't have vaccines for teachers? Every day, yes, we're going to get more vaccines for those teachers. By this rate, they're going mid-April. Then they go, but Ben, what about the bus drivers? Yeah, what about the bus drivers? They should be first in line. They always go, that's their response to people. Ben, bus drivers, they have a dangerous job too. Yes, they do. So why didn't every bus driver get vaccinated first? Well, we don't have enough vaccines because we have a capitalist state. We believe in capitalism, Ben. Big Pharma's got to make its money. You sound like a Bernie supporter. Yeah, you say, yeah. Anyway, you open up the schools. Let's all go back. Let's do a show. Let's do a live podcast from a school. How about that, Dion?
Okay, I don't know, give it a few years. And mankind may not be able to handle all this, but I got a feeling Mancow can.
It's the butter cow, which has 9 hearts to represent the 9 essential nutrients in milk. That's right, it's made entirely out of butter, and it's a state fair tradition since at least 1922.
Mancow 2022.
Yeah, I wonder what Mancow's position is on opening the schools, but don't wonder that much.
I got a feeling I know what it is. Moving on. Oh, there it is. There it is. Boy, for those listeners who are like, I want more cow noises in my Benjarovsky show in the year 2021, you are welcome.
And you notice how I started the show by saying, today is the day. No more funny noises. No more songs.
Yeah.
I'm going to smoke a pipe. I'm wearing a suit. I'm going to really try to, be more like WTTW. That's what we're aiming for this year, D. Yeah. More like WTTW.
But that was at the beginning of the show, and now we're on to cow noises and horse noises, proving yet again, boy, this host is a weirdo.
That is correct.
It's because I'm stuck in an attic overlooking the porta potty. Gets to you after a while.
Moving on. Hey, Chicago Fraternal Order of Police President John Kinzinger. Do you hear that? Hey, John! Come on! Come on, John! It's Florida calling your name. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and, surprisingly, not Fran the Woe Man Spielman. It's Sam Charles. John Kinzinger, the embattled Chicago Police Union president, was served with administrative charges Tuesday, setting the stage for his hearing later this month that could lead to his firing from the Chicago Police Department. With the service of the charges, Kinzinger will be stripped of his pay for 30 days. Kinzinger works full-time for the Fraternal Order of Police, and the union reimburses the CPD for his salary. The fiery first-term union president, that's a word for him, will face a hearing later this month over obscene and inflammatory posts he made to social media before his election. Additionally, Kinzinger faces charges related to a criminal complaint he filed against former CPD Superintendent Eddie Johnson.
Yeah, that Eddie Johnson one is, I'm not quite sure what he did wrong. I know it was a bogus they're saying what? That it's against the rules to file a criminal charge against someone if they didn't commit a criminal. I don't know. Maybe I get Jim Coogan to explain this to me, because I really don't know what he did wrong with that Eddie Johnson thing, other than offend humanity. You know, I mean, Eddie Johnson marched with Father Flagler and Jesse Jackson on the Dan Ryan Expressway back in the summer of 2000. What was it, 18? I want to say, to sort of like draw attention to the shootings and the murders in black communities throughout Chicago, because their attitude was people don't care enough. And then fast forward 2 years later, and all of MAGA, of which John Kinzinger is a card-carrying member, was saying that black people don't care enough about black on black crime. So he filed a charge against Eddie Johnson for showing that he cared about the issue, and then he turns right around and says, you don't care enough. MAGA, you're all over the map. You gotta figure things out, MAGA, if you want any credibility. So Johnny Kinzinger has to figure stuff out. Like, for instance, he believes he has a First Amendment protected right to wear a MAGA shirt, to wear a shirt that proclaims his love for Donald Trump. Then he turns right around and says any police officer who takes a knee in solidarity with Black Lives Matter protesters will be kicked out of the union. So what is it? You only get the rights? They don't get the rights? You should only care about black on black crime when you want to insult Black Lives Matter, but you shouldn't do it just in general? MAGA, you're all over the map. Oh, by the way, it was a great day for the Sun-Times, so do you know why? They got to air a picture of Johnny C. They love putting his face. There's somebody at the Sun-Times. I don't know who it is. High-ranking editor, maybe? The photo editor, maybe? We got to get Romana to let the cat out of the bag. Who loves Johnny Kinzinger? Yeah, it's just a little picture. Not usually like the big ones. They love Johnny Kinzinger at Chicago sometimes. Not quite sure why, but they do. Anyway, I don't know what this is going to do, D. I was listening to your recitation of the article, and it's just not quite clear to me. Will he lose his salary? So the union reimburses him for the salary. So it seems like the union pays him, the city pays the union, and then the union pays the city. I'm just following this. And so this way, the union will just pay him. So I don't think he's going to lose his salary. I don't think this affects him in any which way, anyway at all. So it's like shutting the gate. Oh, back to our animals, our barnyard thing, D. It's like shutting the gate after the cow has left the pasture.
We're getting that award, I tell you.
Oh, no. Folks, we were up for a award. But people actually listen to the show. They're like, oh, my God. I am not giving this hippie drug smoke. Reefer, ski-loving.
What on earth is a man-cow? Is he a man or a cow? A cow or a man? I don't know. This show is weird.
You know what might help us? This whole new skiing thing.
Okay, we're not.
We're going to do a whole segment on skiing the hills of Michigan. Benjarovsky, a bonus special.
Starting to regret sharing this information with everybody today.
Anyway, yeah, Kinzinger, what a character. What a character he is. I support his First Amendment rights to wear a Trump t-shirt, though. I do support that. And I know he'll join me in supporting Mark Cuban's First Amendment protected rights not to play the national anthem at Dallas Mavericks games. I'm sure he's going to support me in that. First Amendment for thee, not for me.
Hey, come on, Johnny. Johnny, let's do a beer bong. Tom Brady.
Florida's calling your name, dude.
He'd be huge in Florida. Huge in Florida.
Remember my prediction. Remember my prediction. I may go up a few months now. I said by June, John Kinzinger will no longer be the Fraternal Order of Police president, and he will be living in Florida. You know what? That may have a March. He may by March.
By the way, maybe both. I don't think there's a residency requirement for being the head of the Fraternal Order of Police. He may be living in Florida and the Fraternal Order of Police. How about that? That would really be. He'd be calling in press conferences from Florida.
Yeah. And like
his boat.
And like I said, not hating here, man. Like seriously, you would be loved in Florida. My God.
Huge. Yeah. Well, right now he could probably get elected alderman. I'd say in the city of Chicago. He might beat Napolitano in the 41st. He might beat Matt O'Shea in the 19th. There's some wards in the city where he could give him a heck of a run for alderman. So don't count him out. He might be alderman, Johnny C. That would be interesting.
That would be very interesting. So that's our local news, guys. Remember, you can download previous Benjarovsky shows, Benny J bonus interviews, so much more like this weekend's Benny J bonus interviews that are going to be dropping. Also, remember, no live show tomorrow. Going skiing, not bougie. It's going to be available for download tomorrow, 5 a.m. Chicago Reader website and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. It's an interview with Kelly Cassidy. I'm going to break the fourth wall here a little bit, give you a little sneak peek. She had purple hair. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's right. How could I forget the purple hair? She had purple hair. And in honor of Kelly Cassidy, Dennis will be wearing orange hair as he goes skiing tomorrow.
I'm bald. Okay, so check those out. Remember, you can follow us on social media at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can always send us an email, bennyjshow@gmail.com, and you can call the Benjarovsky Show. It's true. We have a phone number, 708-658-4788. The number again is 708-658-4788. Leave us a voicemail. And remember, Benjarovsky has a book coming out. All right, guys? It's coming out very soon. We're going to be talking more about it as the shows go along here. And once this book comes out, we want to try to get people to call the Benjarovsky Show, leave us a voicemail with quotes from the book in their best Benjarovsky impression. All right, I'm gonna keep on trying to promote this. All right, so remember 708-658-4788. Save that number, and when that book comes out, we're gonna make that happen. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, Micah Uetricht returns to the Benjarovsky Show. Will he talk about that alligator? More than likely, but he'll have other things to discuss as well. It's the Benjarovsky Show. We are live from my apartment in his attic.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish. I've seen a whole lot of catfish, some turtles. No gators yet, though.
We are out of runway. We are out of runway.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish. I've seen a whole lot of catfish.
That is correct.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish.
All right, hour number 2 of your Benjarovsky Show is brought to you in part by SEIU Healthcare, Illinois, Indiana, the Chicago Federation of Labor, and the Chicago Reader. Benny J, take it away.
Micah Uetricht, ace reporter for Jacobin in these times, other lefty publications, book author, and also owner of the Deepest Pipes in lefty Chicago, has joined us from his apartment somewhere or other in the city. Welcome back to the show, Micah.
What you don't actually know is I just have a voice filter on for this. I'm just trying to get lower than you. That's my goal here.
Barry White fans love it. Micah joins us on the show. Man, you got some pipes, man. All right, I am dying to talk to you about Neera Tandon. I took the deep dive. I was talking to Micah briefly about this. I opened up the show with it. I didn't really know much about her. The name was just vague. I was just vaguely aware of the name because I'm not really into Twitter and I'm not really into centrist Democrats. I have since discovered a lot about her. I've done the deep dive. I'm really dying to have this conversation with you, Micah, because you were into her long before it was fashionable. You knew all about this. But we're going to hold off because I want to talk first. So that's like a tease. We're going to do Neera Tandon taunting Bernie tweets in a little while, and also Republicans. She wants to be a leading economic advisor to Joe Biden, so she's throwing it all away. But anyway, let's talk about someone that I truly, really do love and admire, and a good friend of mine. I've been talking about her a lot on the show. The great Karen Lewis died, was it Sunday, I want to say, and we've been mourning her ever since. And I thought it'd be great to bring Micah on, because Micah sort of wrote the book on Karen Lewis and the Chicago Teachers Union, at least the strike of 2012, and that would be Strike for America. So, Micah, why don't you just talk a little bit about the legacy of Karen Lewis, and we'll get into some of the issues. Go ahead.
Well, to start the conversation, I think you have to say that if Karen was with us still, and she heard us talking about her, and we were heaping all of this praise on Karen as this individual leader, she would tell us to pump the brakes a little bit. And this is a thing that I feel like the media, both in Chicago and nationally, did not understand about Karen Lewis at all, because they didn't read my book, because I talk about this in the book. But that Karen Lewis, she was, of course, this enormous personality. I mean, she had this really, once in a generation charisma, not like anything that has been seen on the labor movement anywhere in a very long time. Much less, it's also true of politics in general. That kind of charisma is a real rarity. And we all know her greatest hits. We remember when she called Bruce Rauner a recruit to ISIS and, called Rahm the murder mayor, all these kinds of things. But all of that stuff could confuse people sometimes. It distracted them from the fact that fundamentally, Karen Lewis was a labor leader who was dedicated to a small d democratic kind of teachers unionism. That for her, the whole reason that she ran for the presidency of the Chicago Teachers Union after being a teacher for at least 2 decades, I think, the whole reason she decided to run was because she thought that the model of unionism that was on offer from the Chicago Teachers Union before 2010, when she won the presidency, was not up to the challenge of fighting back against neoliberal education reform and an austerity and attacks on teachers and their unions. And she thought that the way to fight back was to do democratic unionism that engaged the members of that union, that saw them as the ones who have to be activated and who are the agents of change. It wasn't just Karen Lewis, saying some funny stuff up on stage or having a personality that was big enough to go up against somebody like Rahm Emanuel. It was that her kind of unionism was about militancy, was about democracy, was about getting more people involved in her union. And that more than anything else, that is the legacy that she leaves behind. This model of democratic militant unionism that fights for the entire working class. That was central to Karen Lewis. And I feel like the focus on her and her personality, as fun as that is. I'm happy to do that all day. But it risks losing that singular contribution that she spearheaded within the Chicago Teachers Union.
Yeah, the last time you were on the show, you were talking about another book you wrote called Bigger Than Bernie, about how the movement was bigger than Bernie Sanders. A very similar theme here that you're striking, Micah, with Karen Lewis and democratic unions. Talk about the impact as you see it in a real level. And with real examples like in West Virginia or Arizona of Karen Lewis's model.
Well, before 2012, people like me, I pay close attention to the labor movement, and every article about the labor movement is like the situation is bleak, the numbers are worse than ever, there's smaller percentage of workers in unions than ever, unions aren't going on strike, unions are just weak. And the 2012 strike was, and I don't know if people in Chicago really wrap their heads around this enough. I mean, it was an event of major national importance to the entire labor movement, and certainly to the entire, all teachers unions and rank and file teachers of all kinds. And what has happened since 2012, since that strike in 2012, was that the CTU provided this example that you can actually fight these neoliberal reformers who want to attack your union and attack public schools, and you can win. And there is no teacher strike wave that kicked off all around the country, and we're still in some ways in the midst of, without the Chicago Teachers Union and without the kind of teachers unionism that Karen Lewis and the rest of her caucus, the caucus of rank and file educators, put into practice after 2010. So as a concrete example, West Virginia, folks remember in 2018 was where things really popped off unexpectedly in this very red and anti-union state. And these teachers organized this incredible strike that put every single county in all of West Virginia, the teachers were on strike. And we've learned from journalists who have interviewed these teachers. Eric Blanc, who's a good friend of mine, wrote a book called Red State Revolt about this teachers strike wave. And the West Virginia teachers were studying the lessons from Chicago. They read my book. They read other things that had been written about the CTU. They were very actively studying this model and put it into practice. And what they're doing, the same is true in Arizona. In Arizona, literally, there was at least one teacher, Rebecca Gorelli, who was a CTU member and had gone on strike in 2012, and then she moved to Arizona later, and then she ends up playing this important leadership role in the Arizona strike of that year. And likewise, in Los Angeles, the United Teachers of Los Angeles went on strike. What was that? I think early 2020. And that union, just a direct application of the models of the lessons from the CTU. I mean, and if you ask them, if you watch what they're doing, it's very clear. I mean, they had reform leadership come in that changed their union. They did the exact same kind of stuff that the CTU did. So the CTU under Karen Lewis affected this real sea change in the American labor movement as a whole, and within teachers unions, or even teachers who don't have unions in particular. And Karen and CTU's contribution to that can't be overstated.
All right, we're going to get into the contradictions of West Virginia a little bit, but let's not let this conversation end without getting to that. But I want to touch on something, get your thoughts on this. One of the reactions that I see so often in Chicago, not only in the editorial pages and columns, but in the rhetoric of centrists that I know, a lot of Northsiders tell me this, is that they're sick and tired of the Chicago Teachers Union always making demands. And they're sick and tired of the Chicago Teachers Union raising the issues not directly related to the classroom. Like, why are you talking about police brutality? Or why are you talking about overall budget cuts or guns control or anything else? Stick to the classroom. In fact, when they went on strike for more nurses, the editorial pages of both downtown papers said, shut up, take your raise, and go back to the classroom. Forget the nurses, okay? So what's your response to that, Micah? How far, in your humble opinion, should teachers unions go in terms of connecting their educational issues to larger issues?
Well, unions in general, their main task is to fight for their members, right? The people who pay them dues, they have to fight for them to get better wages, get better benefits, make sure they have due process when they get fired, stuff like that. And that's good to have in our society. That means that we have less inequality. Workers get more of a share of the income of society and everything else. That's good. But there's a way of doing unionism that is not just about what you can get for yourself, but you use your union to fight for the entire working class. So you say, I don't just want to make sure that the people who pay dues to the Chicago Teachers Union get their raises that they're supposed to get. I want to make sure that the students we serve are living in safe communities. I want to make sure that the families we serve are living in affordable housing. I want to make sure that they have enough nurses in the classroom. And so all of that is about advancing a kind of unionism that's rooted in a vision of fighting for everybody, fighting for the vast majority of society. And maybe some of your friends on the north side, who I assume you're referring to, sort of like wealthier liberal types, might be annoyed by that. But every time there is a strike or talk of a strike, there's polling that's done. I remember in 2012, the Tribune did a poll during the strike itself. At the moment when Chicago parents were being put out by this strike, they said, who do you support in the strike? Do you support the teachers or do you support Rahm Emanuel? Overwhelming support from CPS parents for the union over Rahm Emanuel. So maybe the wealthy people on the wealthy white people on the north side aren't big fans, but it seems to be playing pretty well in places like Bronzeville and Austin and Little Village, because the polls show that people actually support this agenda that the CTU is carrying out.
Oh, I could tell you right now. I'm going to tell you this. I have lived on the north side for many, many years. And there is a North Side type that cannot stand the Chicago Teachers Union, and I hear from them.
I hear from them in your column, right?
What's that?
You write about them in your column.
Well, I just wrote about that was a subset. I just wrote a column about this. There's a subset of North Siders, and maybe this is greater than the North Side, but I just hear it from the North Side, and I heard this a lot in 2012. This has to do with Karen. This obsession people have with weight, And I'm talking to you, Northsiders. You're weird, okay? You got this weird obsession with weight. You just got to confront it. I know you're feeling good about yourself because you're in good shape. You go jogging, do your little yoga, okay? You feel really good about yourself. And then, but they would say, I'm on a tangent here, Micah, I apologize, but you triggered me.
I set you up for it.
You set me up. They'd be like, Ben, I know you really like her a lot. She's your friend and everything, but you got to admit the teachers could have a better looking representative. Guys are so weird, okay? Sorry. I just had to say that, Micah. I had to get it off my chest, okay? This obsession that certain Northsiders, they like to go jogging and they think they're so virtuous, like it's a virtue or something. Man, you just happen to have, I don't know, you're lucky, all right? Or whatever, Sorry, I didn't mean to go there. Yes, they have this obsession. They don't like teachers that stand up for themselves. How deep do you think that is? I know I read it. It certainly seems to be like have the majority of the voice that I read around me all the time. I don't see many voices in mainstream Chicago that stand up for the teachers when the teachers take action. It's usually at best, well, I can sympathize with them not wanting to go in the classroom and getting COVID, but really the children have to learn. You know what I mean? That's kind of like where we're at. So how deep do you think the love is for the teachers in the city of Chicago go?
Well, I think it's been proven repeatedly to be very deep, not necessarily among the bougie white Northside liberals, but among the vast majority of the city. I mean, as I was saying, the polls seem to indicate it over and over again. And the CTU has emerged. I mean, the CTU created a new pole in Chicago politics, basically. Like there is now a coherent left pole in Chicago politics that the CTU is sort of at the heart of, that includes other sectors of the labor movement, and it includes people like Democratic Socialists on the city council and all of this stuff. But like the CTU is what helped make that sea change happen. Not solely, but like they play a huge part in that. And so the fact that there are half a dozen members of the Democratic Socialists of America on the Chicago City Council, the fact that there are new possibilities, progressive possibilities opening up in Chicago politics, the fact that people keep coming out for the teachers over and over and over again and supporting the teachers. I mean, it seems to indicate to me that support runs very, very deep, and that clearly you don't get that kind of deep support for a union like CTU over the course of over a decade, if it's not just tied up in one charismatic leader like a Karen Lewis. It's tied up in this kind of unionism that they have really pioneered in recent times, and it's really borne fruit for them and continues to bear fruit.
Yeah, I find it interesting at the peak of the confrontation over whether the school should be reopened. I'll hold off on taking a deep dive in that one. But at the peak of the confrontation, Lori Lightfoot went on some national TV show. I can't remember which one, so excuse my ignorance on this. And she likened the Chicago Teachers Union to the Fraternal Order of Police. And she said, I get along with all the unions in the city of Chicago. It's just the right-wing leaders of the Fraternal Order of Police and this union. I don't even think she would say it. She couldn't even get it out to this union. This. Okay? I'm like, how fair is that to like it? That's how they do it. I mean, that's you got MAGA on the right and you got Micah on the left, and like, oh my God,
exactly.
Really? What's the
mirror images?
Yeah, Micah storming the Capitol. Take back the steel. So, what's your attitude when you hear Lori Lightfoot and others, compare MAGA to lefties? And the teachers' unions in particularly. Go ahead.
Well, this is just par for the course. As a socialist, I'm used to this kind of thing. It is sort of funny to think about what the agendas of the respective far right and the far left are in this country, right? Like, I'm trying to get people free healthcare, affordable housing, free college tuition, stop bombing children in Yemen, etc. And my counterparts on the far right are saying that John Podesta and Hillary Clinton are drinking the blood of children in the basement of pizza shops, and they're worship Satan together. And, I mean, it's just like, we're talking about very different things here. Like, I'm trying to get a decent world for the vast majority of people, so that people don't have to suffer. And these people are storming the Capitol and like bringing, they're white supremacists, and they're talking about assassinating Nancy Pelosi and hanging Mike Pence or whatever. I mean, one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And yet, that equation, that false equivalency is made all the time. And I was a little disappointed, to put it mildly, to hear Lori Lightfoot make it just a couple of weeks ago. Now, of course, she's singing a new tune. She loves Jesse Sharkey. All right, let's get to West Virginia. I told you this when we chatted this morning. I'm baffled by this. You talked about the support that the teachers union in West Virginia had when they went on strike. I think it was a wildcat strike. In other words, I think they just walked off without an official vote. That's what a wildcat strike is. And there was support
without like legal authorization and going through the legal process. It was like in defiance of the law. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so, and yet that's a state. The only Democrat that can elect is Joe Manchin, who doesn't want to raise the minimum wage. It's so bizarre, and everybody else is right-wing Republicans. They love Trump. And I know you're like getting all ready to shame me for shaming voters. I can see it coming out of your eyes right now, Micah. So I'm going to really resist. But just help me understand this. Help me understand what seems like a contradiction between an outpouring of support for teachers who literally walk off the job in a wildcat strike, an illegal strike, as you point out, and then turning around and voting for Donald Trump. Please explain that to me. Go ahead.
Well, it's a very good question. And to be clear, I share your frustration that people in West Virginia are voting for Donald Trump. I wish they didn't do that. The world would be a better place if they weren't voting for Donald Trump or Joe Manchin, for that matter. But people's ideas about politics I mean, most people are not a Benjarovsky or a Micah Uetricht, and they go read a stack of, columns and pore over a bunch of TIFF spreadsheets or whatever it is that you do with your time. They got lives, they've got shit to do. And they don't make their political decisions on a fully rational way, and especially when it comes to voting for a president, for example, because that seems very abstract to them. And I think they vote for Donald Trump in part because they feel abandoned by a Democratic Party that has not been interested in fighting for coal miners and other working class people in West Virginia. And so they're like, well, these people don't seem to care about me, so I guess I'm going to go with this Yahoo over here. It can't be worse than the alternative. But the reason why people like me care so much, socialists care so much about strikes, is because strikes are different. They're like different political phenomena. I mean, you can be a MAGA teacher, you can vote for Trump and have all kinds of reactionary ideas, but that, as I said, are based on pretty abstract principles, little pieces of information and feelings that you picked up here and there. But then you go to work and you're disrespected by your principal. If you're a teacher, you know that you're underpaid. You feel like you're not getting the kind of support that you need at the job. And so that material reality of your day-to-day existence at work as a teacher drives you to think, well, this is messed up. I mean, I'm not a socialist or a liberal or a working class militant or anything, but I just don't think it's right that I'm getting treated that way. And so those material conditions drive you into taking action, like going on strikes, even if you think you're, as I said, a MAGA voter, you're a Republican, whatever. And that experience of struggle has the potential. I mean, it's the best way to change people's minds about politics, change people's ideas. That doesn't mean that they come out on the other end of the strike, voting exactly as Benjarovsky would like them to. But it is through that act of struggle that they get transformed. Their ideas about politics get transformed. So that's why people like me are always. It's not that we're not frustrated with people who are clearly voting for people like Trump who they really shouldn't be voting for, but that if we think that we're going to transform their ideas, which we desperately need to do, we desperately need to win those people back away from Trump and Trumpism if we're going to have a decent society. The way to do it is not through wagging our finger at how awful they are. It's through engaging them on issues that are actually of serious importance to them, and maybe even through them taking action like going on strike. And that is how they'll come around.
All right. Well, we'll see. I urge everybody. I told you this before. I had a very similar conversation with the great Mindy Heiser, an In These Times writer, a friend of yours, on this very subject. And I understand that it's not a very effective way to win people over is to go, what an idiot you are. Yeah, you're right. Mindy pointed that out. But at least it's when you're voting against your own interests time and time again. But going back to Karen Lewis, I do believe that it was bigger than schools. I'll put it that way. You talk about bigger than Bernie. And when Karen Lewis came on the scene in 2012, the way I've been saying is she liberated Chicago because she showed Chicagoans, oh God, here I go. I feel the shaming of Chicago coming over me, Mike. I'm really going to resist it. But Chicagoans are so sheepish when it comes to mayors. They were like that with Mayor Rahm big time in those first 2 years. And they're so afraid to defy him. And they were Daley was the same way. They were like that with Daley. And she showed him, hey, the sky is not going to come crashing down if you criticize a mayor. If you stand up to a mayor, you could do it. And all those city council, all those aldermen, Micah, you were here in 2012. They were hiding under their desks. They were with Rahm. There were 4. Stacy and I counted 4 when Stacy was on the show the other day. 4, Micah. That was it. 4 aldermen out of 50.
That's shocking.
I know. Showed up, stood with the teachers. 4 of them. The rest of those 46 cowards were hiding under a desk. Can't get too close to Karen Lewis. They may call her up. Now, Karen, don't tell Rahm I called you, but I really like it. That's how they do it, man. Then they would deny it. I never call her. So I think she liberated it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how I view it. And I do respect the fact that I do appreciate the fact, despite my cynicism, or skepticism, I should say, that we have how many? 6 lefties in the city council now? Isn't that what it is?
We've got 6, and then there's a larger swath of people who are sort of sympathetic to what, the people who are affiliated with like CTU and United Working Families and people like that. So yeah, there's certainly a growing number of people who are willing to buck the status quo in the city.
Yeah, I'd say 6 hardcore lefties and about 6 wannabe hardcore lefties in the Chicago City Council. So,
well, that's about a dozen more than we used to have. So
that is correct. That is correct. So a lot of love for Karen Lewis on my part. And I hear what you're saying. It's bigger than Karen. But she was there at that moment. I can only think, you know what I'm saying? She was like right there. She took the challenge. She didn't back down. She pretty much gave up her life for it when you think about it, so. Yep. Got a lot of love for Karen Lewis, as everybody knows. All right, let's move on to somebody I didn't really know much about until yesterday. And boy, was I missing out. Neera Tandon, what a character. Neera Tandon wants to be the Office of Management and Budget, big time economic advisor to President Joe Biden. President Joe Biden wants her to be the head. And as such, she had to go for a confirmation hearing for the Budget Committee, which is chaired by one Senator Bernie Sanders. And Neera Tandon has been just like fighting Bernie Sanders supporters for the last 5 years on Twitter. Since I don't look at Twitter, Micah, I missed all this. So why don't you just fill us in a little bit? Because I know you've been following this. You know a lot about this. Go ahead.
Well, Ben, the story of Neera Tandon is a warning to people like you who are like, oh, maybe I should get on Twitter. Maybe I should use this thing more often. And then you look at what she said and you're like, oh, wait a minute. That's what happens to you when you use Twitter. It's just, it's rotted her brain. I mean, it's like Trump. It's like, she's not as politically reactionary, certainly as Trump, but she has the Twitter brain. And, as somebody who has gotten a few symptoms of getting Twitter brain a couple times in my life, I have to tell you that you don't want to get that kind of brain. You want your brain to stay healthy. You don't want to get an infection with that. So, she was the head of the Center for American Progress, which is the most important liberal think tank in America. I suppose I should disclose that I worked for a year as a contractor for the Center for American Progress as a writer for their youth publication called Generation Progress. So I
did not know that.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
That would have been in 2011. I remember I reported on the Wisconsin Capitol uprising for them. But that was just sort of this like youth. They had this youth publication, but the main thing that they do is write policy for this sort of centrist Democrats like Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton. I mean, they are the main policy shop in America for the agenda of the mainstream Democratic Party. And what I've always found so fascinating about Neera Tandon as a figure is that she works for the most important think tank in a liberal think tank in America, is the head of it, and yet she somehow never stops tweeting. It's like, what is that her whole job? Is that when you're the head of the most important liberal think tank in America, is it your job to just tweet for 24 hours straight? It's incredible. Where can I get one of those jobs? That sounds easier than my job. I want somebody to make me the head of a think tank where I can just tweet incessantly and never stop. But she was just very, she was antagonistic to Bernie Sanders and to Bernie Sanders supporters, loved pushing the narrative of the Bernie bro. But what was interesting about the hearing that Bernie Sanders was sharing the other day was that he, in typical Bernie fashion, was less interested in parsing like Tandon's personality and more interested in asking her some very pointed questions, like, for example, CAP is receiving enormous amounts of funding from this and this corporate source. Will that impact your decision making if we appoint you to this position? I mean, he didn't seem as interested in fighting the battles from 2016 Twitter when Neera Tandon was really at the height of her tweeting powers. And that's really the question that we should be asking about her. I mean, not only in terms of the corporate donations to her think tank, which is supposed to be a liberal think tank, and yet gets all of this money from these corporate sources, but also has very close ties to Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, or not close ties, but has invited him to speak at CAP, and has been not particularly great on many issues like foreign policy. There's a famous incident when the Podesta emails were leaked in 2016, where she wrote an email saying that I believe that Libya should compensate America for taking its oil or something like that. I mean, this is not a particularly this is someone who is one of the most prominent liberals in America, and yet makes some very disturbing and certainly not progressive arguments about what we should do on anything ranging from healthcare to foreign policy.
Well, I understand your point that is more important, but let me go back to Twitter brain for a moment. We'll get to the important stuff first. Let me have dessert before I eat the main course. So you said something, Twitter brain, and I wrote it down. I'd never heard that before. I don't know if you just made that up right now, or is this another thing I don't know about Twitter? Like this is a standard line, but whatever, either you made it up now or it's a standard line. Explain what you mean by Twitter brain.
Well, there are many aspects to Twitter brain. If you feel you are experiencing symptoms of Twitter brain, you should see your doctor immediately.
If you're on Twitter for more than 4 hours, sorry.
4 hours, Ben, that's a low bar, I have to say, for some of us. You're probably correct, but yeah, that's a low bar. Twitter is a place. Twitter's a fun place. I spend a lot of time on Twitter. As I told you earlier, I recently deleted it from my phone because I realized that I too was suffering from Twitter brain and that I had to extricate myself a bit from it. Now I just use it when I'm working, basically. But it's a place where people get, the incentives of the thing are such that you get rewarded for being bombastic, for picking fights with people, for blowing up differences that you have with other people out of proportion, to do what people call dunking on people. It rewards sort of like useless and vicious conflict, and it does not reward sort of like rational and calm discourse. I know in my own life I've found myself the times when I've in real life found myself looking at something and thinking like, oh, how could I turn this into a good tweet? And I was like, I'm like rewiring my own brain in real time to make it fit for Twitter. And that really disturbed me. And so that's a thing to be avoided. But of course, you get rewarded in American society. We just got rid of a president who tweeted his way into the presidency. So that's the whole problem. You get rewarded for this bad behavior on the internet. You rack up Twitter followers, you can get more influence, you can put yourself on the radar, etc. So that's a real problem that we have in not just our politics, but in the society in general. And short of, you'll not be shocked to hear a socialist say this, but short of like nationalizing Twitter, making it into like a public resource, it's hard to imagine how this is going to change, because of course social media companies like Twitter benefit from this. We all get addicted to it. We get these like dopamine hits all the time because when you do the dunk on somebody, when you're rude to somebody, when you really stick it to them, that's when you get the followers and the retweets and all that stuff. And so you spend more time on it. And obviously companies like Twitter know that, and they want you to stay on it so that they can make more money from you tweeting. So short of taking this thing, which is now an essential part of the public square in the world, right? Like this is where we go to talk about current events and everything else. So it should be a utility, like a public resource that we're all using. But as long as the way that it's set up is governed by the profit motive, making CEO Jack Dorsey richer, we're not going to be able to like restructure it in ways that don't rot our brains.
All right, well, let's talk about that a little bit. Now we're on something interesting, a tangent here about Twitter brain. Donald Trump was allowed to use Twitter to rise through the Republican primary to become the leading Republican. Then he was allowed to use Twitter in his fight against Hillary Clinton. And then he was allowed to like double down for 4 years as the president tweet and used Twitter to just fight anybody who dared to differ with him. And by the way, I just want to point out one thing on a tangent. And having said all that, Neera Tandem out-tweeted Donald Trump by 30,000. I read this, somebody I discovered today. I never even knew. She tweeted 88,000 tweets. That's like beyond Twitter brain. It's like double Twitter. 88. I'm like 88,000. That's a lot of tweets. I mean, I could do the math, but wow. She was up at one point. I'm going to tangent with a tangent. I tell you, this is me. I got caught up with this, Micah. An hour I spent reading about this, maybe 45 minutes. She was up. There was one Twitter exchange where she was up at, here we go. Neera, you're responding to a graduate student on Twitter at 1:40 in the morning. That's some sick, really weird stuff. I kind of wonder about her, what capacity to be this enormously important economist. All right, but let's put that aside.
You can imagine Bernie being, Ms. Tandon, are you planning on sleeping through the night as you hold this office, or will you be tweeting and as your position at the head of the budget office?
It's actually not a bad Bernie imitation. But anyway, so the point is, if I'm following you, the socialist analysis, and I think it's a good one, Twitter put up with Donald Trump because they're making money off of him.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like Donald Trump was great for business. I mean, all of media said that, right? There was the CEO of CBS, I believe, who said something about, Donald Trump is awful for America and great for CBS because people were tuning in. It was a ratings bonanza, and people, every tweet he would make would sort of dominate the news cycle, and yeah, that made these social media moguls very wealthy from all of the engagement that he was spurring. And so again, when that is when those are the incentives, and that's how the social media platform is set up, we're never going to move towards a healthier way of using these platforms. It's going to continue to rot our brains.
All right, well, let me ask you this, and I agree with you 100%. My line, I've always had utter disdain for Twitter. And my rule was, once you reach the age of 50, you should be prohibited from going on Twitter because it's sort of like a younger person's thing. So I noted in my research that Neera Tandon is now 50 years old. So that's it. There it goes. Kick her off. Trump should have been kicked off I can't do the math, almost 30 years ago. That's how ancient he is.
Well, but Ben, I have to tell you, you're a little behind here because Twitter is, Twitter's for people like me, getting older. I'm in my 30s now. I'm 33. The Zoomers, they're on other stuff. They're doing TikToks. We got to get Ben on TikTok. That's what we need to get.
That sounds like a drug. Get Ben on TikTok. See what weird stuff he does. Going back to the Twitter, the larger discussion, do you, in your humble opinion as a socialist, believe that we should get rid of the protection that Twitter enjoys, that Facebook enjoys, from being held accountable for the nasty, libelous, slanderous, contemptible stuff that people post on it? So if Donald John Trump could be held, or if Twitter could be held responsible for the stupid lies that Donald Trump puts on there, that may force them to put aside they may force them to have different financial interests, much as we're seeing these lawsuits against Fox TV by these election companies as having an impact on their coverage of Donald John Trump's claims that the election was stolen from him, that he just made up. Do you, a socialist, Micah, do you think that Twitter and Facebook should lose their protection from libel lawsuits?
Well, no, I mean, I'm a socialist, but I believe very firmly in some of the basic liberal values of free speech. I'm very nervous about what will happen as we become more comfortable with government crackdowns on basic free speech. And I know for myself that even though, as we've already discussed, I am not the same thing as, a QAnon person or a MAGA person, but I know that these people will come for me. They'll do the fake both sidesism. They'll say, well, we're going to, and Twitter and Facebook have already done stuff like this, where they say we're going to crack down on QAnon, and then also, just to show that we're fair, we're going to crack down on these like fringe lefty people over here. And they haven't. I mean, my magazine, Jacobin, is still standing, but we regularly get prevented by Facebook, for example, from just running basic ads on Facebook for subscriptions to our magazine. And I am pretty sure, I mean, it's impossible for us to fully find out, but I'm pretty sure that that is out of their sort of overzealous attempt to make sure they're not just seen as cracking down on the right. They also wanted to be seen as cracking down on the left. And I don't think it's it's not purposely nefarious. It's just like they've got, algorithms set up to catch stuff like what we publish, which is not advocating violence or anything like that, but they catch us and they prevent us from doing our ads on Facebook, which is like our lifeblood. I mean, that's where we get, I think, almost a majority of our traffic on our website comes through Facebook. So we're just at the mercy of these people. And I think that we can talk about what in the short term we do need to do. I mean, I'm up in the air on some questions of like how clearly there needs to be something done about QAnon. This stuff can't just be allowed to run amok. This kind of ultra-libertarian ethos that the Silicon Valley type social media companies have had this long has led us to this horrible place that we're now at as a society. But I think as long as these are private companies that exist to make profits for a relatively small number of people, that's why we're going to be stuck with this fundamental problem of out of whack incentives for how we engage in social media, engage with each other.
Well, this is not government intervention. This is merely taking away. Government has already intervened. Government protected Twitter and Facebook for the consequences of what people put on them when it gave them immunity from lawsuits, libel lawsuits. So government has already intervened in the marketplace. Where are my free market champions? Oh, they're all hiding under the table with the aldermen. You know what I mean? Where are you guys when I need you, freaking libertarians? Never around. Libertarians were nowhere, absolutely nowhere. All those years I was trying to get reefer legalized. Where were my libertarian friends? They do want to hit the law and order types. Anyway,
well, you can't hold that against them though, Ben. They've always been for legalization.
Yeah, not that loud. Well,
very loud. That's how they show they're cool. They're like, oh, hey, hey kids, we'll give you legalized weed because we're not like your mom and dad. We're gonna let you do whatever you want.
Never seen a libertarian show up at any kind of city council hearing calling for legalization. Never. But anyway, neither here nor there. I want to get back to. By the way, a central inconsistency of that riff you on was really brilliant because you're right. You're absolutely correct. The right wing has successfully played the refs with the Zuckerberg crowd and Dorsey and Twitter by saying, oh, you're so prejudiced and biased against us. And Zuckerberg's like bending over backwards to let them. Zuckerberg all of a sudden is a First Amendment. I cannot interfere with anything. I'll put Holocaust deniers on Facebook. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know if you saw the QAnon congresswoman from Georgia, when she was trying to defend herself about believing in QAnon, she goes, I was allowed to believe. Like she was blaming Facebook for allowing her to read stuff on Facebook about QAnon, Micah. And then she turns around and says, oh, but Facebook is prejudiced against right-wingers. So they're inconsistent to the day. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, you remember that you're exactly right to talk about how the right has successfully played the refs, but that's a very old story in this country. They've done that with mainstream media for a long time, right? The way that they convinced everybody that all of mainstream media has this liberal bias, that somehow conservatives are like this oppressed minority in America, and they're constantly being oppressed by these evil liberal media companies, which when in reality they're corporate media outlets that are have answer to corporate interests, just the same way that everything else under capitalism does. But that's what they did for decades, and they helped spread this myth that there was this liberal media that was silencing their voices. I mean, they're very good at this. They've been doing it for a while now.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. All right, we will close with a little impeachment talk. when you were on the show, it was before the first impeachment. I can't remember when it was. I've lost track of time. You're not really strong on the impeachment bandwagon. I think you actually had a debate with a centrist Democrat. I think you were on the show with David Seaton. I want to say there was like a debate as to whether we should impeach. Anyway, what's your thoughts about this current impeachment?
Well, my thoughts have changed a little bit as events have unfolded. I mean, the first time around, one of the things that I thought that made impeachment a dead end was just how narrow the whole scope of what they were arguing over was. I mean, it seemed like it wasn't going to go anywhere. It seemed like they wanted a kind of one weird trick to get Trump out of office that was always doomed to fail. In this case, we've got what Trump did inciting this riot at the Capitol. I understand the argument that Trump, we can't let someone like Trump get away with this in the same way, even though it caused far less human carnage and catastrophe. But the Bush administration got to get off scot-free despite, orchestrating one of the worst foreign policy blunders that left much of the Middle East drenched in blood, hundreds of thousands, if not over 1 million people dead from the war in Iraq. And there was no accountability for that. So I certainly want accountability for these people who do bad things, because there's a long history in people just getting away with whatever. There's just complete impunity for elites in this country. So yes, I want to, Lord knows Trump has a long list of crimes that he deserves to be prosecuted for. The problem is I don't trust the Democratic Party as it currently exists to carry that out in a particularly useful way. I mean, like some of the people in the squad, like Rashida Tlaib were talking, they were talking from the beginning, right? You remember she said when she first got in office, she said, impeach the MFer. And somebody asked her about that, I think today or yesterday, and she's like, well, I was right. Why didn't you guys listen to me? Yeah, I suppose I support the efforts to hold Trump accountable, given the many evils that he carried out. But I just don't trust a party that is still dominated by the Tandons of the world to really carry that out in the best way possible. They don't have a particularly great track record in recent years, I have to say.
Well, by the way, did Tandon ever go after you in particular with one of her tweets, one of her 88,000 tweets?
I don't think me specifically. In fact, sometimes I don't think she knew who I was. She retweeted me a couple times, which I always thought was funny. She like in agreement with what I was saying. But she did one time. I was looking for it yesterday, and she famously deleted several thousand of her tweets before these hearings, so we can't find all of her greatest hits. But one time, at like 4 a.m, she tweeted something, I believe, and again, I can't be 100% sure because the tweets are gone now, but I believe she tweeted about Jacobin not supporting a policy of jobs guarantee. I can't say with 100% certainty that's right, but she asked, why is Jacobin opposed to a jobs guarantee? Which is very bizarre because Jacobin has always written very positively about the demand of a jobs guarantee. And so that morning, our founder, Bhaskar Sankara, woke up and saw that Tandon was tweeting about Jacobin, and he responded to her saying, Jacobin supports a job guarantee. You know what else we support? Getting 8 hours of sleep. Mira, go to bed.
That's Twitter. That's a good line.
You would do well on Twitter, Ben. You would deliver some zingers. I'm not saying you should be on it. I'm saying you would do well if you just submitted yourself to Twitter brain. Yeah,
well, that's not going to happen. 88,000 tweets, by the way. And I started the show by saying this, and I'll repeat it. Come on. You put it out there. You believed it. You stand by it. This thing where, I don't know, this exchange where the John Kennedy, that's his real name, he's a senator from Louisiana, not the president who was shot in 1963. He said, you called Senator Sanders everything but an ignorant slut. All right, now he was being, he's obviously she didn't call him an ignorant slut, but she felt compelled to deny. I did not call him that. Then she said, I must have meant them, meaning tweets, but I really regret them. It's just like, come on. You said them. You did mean them. You don't regret him. Go ahead.
What you can't say about a Bernie Sanders is that he ever says stuff that he doesn't believe and then walks it back. I mean, Bernie has an almost perfect track record. He's of not putting his foot in his mouth on basically anything.
Look, we all make mistakes. We all do things that we regret. So, there's people I voted for like, oh, boy, really don't want to talk about that vote. Okay, you know what I mean?
Right.
But 88,000 tweets that you are now massively deleting, and you've stopped, and all of a sudden you go, I regret them. No, Micah, that's, you know what I mean? That's like a way of life that served one purpose. Now you're doing a different thing, and it no longer serves your purpose. So it's like, just ignore that. What is she going to promise not to go back to Twitter when she's done being? Maybe she'll be a great, by the way, director of the economy. You know what I mean? A year from now, I could have you on and go, whoa, who saw this coming?
I'm trying to do the math, because how many words are in a normal tweet? Like 20, 30, 40 words. And that times 88,000. How many words? My books were 30 and 50,000 words each. So she's written several books worth of these tweets. It's pretty impressive.
We're going to have to get Dan Biss out here to do the math. All right. Before we allow you to leave, what should people know about that you've written lately, that you want to talk about, that you want to promote? Micah, tell them.
Well, I am the deputy editor of this website, or this magazine, Jacobin. I run the website, jacobinmag.com, and you should read. We're publishing about 50 new essays every week, so we got plenty of stuff out there for you. The paperback version of Bigger Than Bernie, with a new foreword that goes over everything that happened over the last year in American politics, is about to come out next month from Verso Books. So it's called Bigger Than Bernie: How We Go from the Sanders Campaign to Democratic Socialism. And I don't know how much interest it'll be to your listeners, but I spent a big chunk of 2020 reading the books of this guy, Mike Davis, who is a longtime socialist writer. And I read 11 of his books, and I wrote about 7,000 words about Mike Davis in the new issue of The Nation. The article, I believe, is called Mike Davis's Forecast. So that just dropped online 2 days ago, and it's on the Nation's website.
Oh, wow, and that's pretty cool.
If anybody's interested in that, they can check it out.
Yeah, Mike Davis wrote a lot about L.A.
Yes, that's right.
Vegas. Well, it's good stuff, Mike. Keep up the good work, and we should have you on more often than we do. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Mike. Take care.
Mike, I had a quick favor to ask you, if you don't mind.
Sure, what's that?
Hell yeah, dude. Our anniversary is coming up, our 2-year anniversary. We're going to, the podcast will be 2 years old on February 27th. And one thing I'm having our guests do, like when you listen to the radio and you're like, hi, I'm Michael Jordan, and you're listening to this, that. And we were wondering if you can give us like, hey, I'm Micah Uetricht. I just want to wish the Benjarovsky show a happy anniversary, and then I'll play it for our anniversary special. How about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Cool. I'll give you a countdown, and then just let her rip. Like I said, hey, this is Micah.
Say it again.
Like, hey, this is Micah Uetricht. I just want to wish the Benjarovsky show a happy 2-year anniversary, and just ad lib and say whatever you want.
But what he said was he's going to give you a countdown.
Right.
And that's radio talk. Mike, you may not remember. He's going to go 3, 2, 1.
Look at this guy. Boy,
where would I be without Ben?
What a seasoned veteran. All right.
Tips, countdowns. He does it all.
All right. So I'm going to give you a countdown, and then you just go ahead and give us a little shout out. And I appreciate you doing this. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. My name is Micah Uetricht. I'm the deputy editor of Jacobin magazine, and I want to wish a very happy 2-year anniversary to the Ben Joravsky show, and to Ben Joravsky, Chicago's finest journalist. There's a short list of the greatest Chicagoans of all time. Who do we have on there? We have Michael Jordan, Richard Wright, Ida B. Wells, Karen Lewis, Ben Joravsky. He goes on that list. So happy birthday, happy 2-year birthday to you and the Ben Joravsky show, Ben.
Wow, that is really high praise, man. Those are some of my heroes. We do a bit on the show, not a bit, but I talk about it all the time. Monroe Anderson comes on. You may have debated Monroe once.
I've been on 2 or 3 times with him.
With Monroe. So we do our thing like the Mount Rushmore of Chicago politicians. So 4, there's only 4 you could do, and my 4 have remained the same. Leon Dupre was a legendary radical alderman from Hyde Park.
Right.
I've got Ralph Metcalf, the congressman in the 70s who turned against the Daily Machine and paid a price for it, but he defeated them and really, gave a lot of inspiration to the Black political movement. Karen Lewis is on my list for what she did liberating Chicago in the 21st century. And of course, the greatest, in my opinion, the GOAT, Harold Washington. So those are my 4.
Harold, I should have said Harold. What are they doing? Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Ida B. Wells is pretty damn good. Okay. I'm not worried about it. So I know I'm catching you off guard here, but if you have to come up with 4, who are your 4?
And is this Chicagoans of all types, not just politics?
Yeah, I have a labor leader. I mean, it's politics. But I make Karen, because she's so political. So I can see you're thinking. So I'm going to allow him the moment. I mean, I just dropped him. I gave Monroe about 2 hours head start. So he was able to come up with his. So
I know Dennis has the Jeopardy music over there somewhere.
Yes, he's ready to go.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Jeez, is this okay? All right.
You know what? We'll bring you back on in a month if you
Rich.
remembered someone. So don't worry about it. The pressure's on.
I would say, Michael Jordan obviously has to go on there. I would say Karen Lewis has to go on there. Despite everything, this is a controversial statement I'm about to make. Kanye West might have to go on there. I'm sorry, but he may have to go on there.
Okay.
And Harold should definitely go on there.
That's a great list. And you know what? I give you credit for not throwing Kanye under the bus. I mean, he's had some flaky moments over the last 2 years, but that was your guy. You loved him, and his music spoke to you, and you're not throwing him under the bus. So I give you credit for that. Michael Jeffrey Jordan, Kanye West, Karen Lewis, and Harold Washington. Not bad. That's a pretty good Mount Rushmore. Micah, you take care. Stay safe and sound. We'll bring you back really soon. All right?
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
All right, Micah. D, you got any updates for us before you head out that door?
Always having fun. Always having fun with Micah on the Benjarovsky Show. Good times. Hey, yes, our anniversary show is coming up February 27th. Ben, I have the mayor. Mayor Lori Lightfoot is on the line. She would like to wish us a happy birthday. Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Hey, how's it going? How you doing? Wait, hello, Mayor. Okay. She hung up.
A lot of
Come
catfish.
on. I voted for you. Okay, twice. I did.
Oh, but okay, we do have a random hipster would like to wish us happy anniversary. Random hipster.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish.
Okay.
Some turtles. No gators yet, though.
Okay.
Forgot to ask Micah about the gator.
I know.
Next time.
You completely forgot to ask him about the gator, dude. Come on, get with it. All right, let's do the back half here. 2 stories to talk about before we leave all of you for the weekend. Yes, that's right. No live show tomorrow. Just as sad as you are. And I never in my life thought I'd be saying this, but I'm going on a ski trip. So
Jean-Claude Dennis.
watch out. By the way, Ro on the live stream chat, thank you for the ski tips. She says to move in a figure 8 rather than go all the way down. I'll try that.
Don't do a somersault. I tried that when I was on the bunny hill. That's where you just lose control and you start rolling down the hill and your skis come off.
Oh my God.
Don't do that.
Oh
okay?
boy. All right. It's going to be a fun ski trip here. So yeah, that's going to be going on. No live show, but we do have an interview with Kelly Cassidy for all of you to download. It'll be available tomorrow by 5 a.m. Go check it out. Subscribe to the Benjarovsky Show, all you live streamers, by the way, if you've yet to. Give it a review, 5 stars only. That'd be great. All right. Now, I do have another ad from the left-wing progressive group. And this ad, this literally came out of nowhere, a group called Tax March and their Relief Now campaign. We played an ad from them earlier, and oh boy, they were ripping Adam Kinzinger. We're going to play some more of those ads. And but first, Ben, a story that you wanted to discuss. This comes from the Sun-Times and Brett Chase. The headline reads, Alderman Garza calls for delay of relocated General Irons permit. Alderwoman Susan Sadlowski Garza is asking that the city delay issuing a permit to the relocated General Iron metal shredding operation on the southeast side while a federal civil rights investigation is being conducted. Garza's announcement Wednesday comes 7 days into a hunger strike initially staged by several activists, which has grown to at least 6 people. The protesters have asked the city to deny issuing an operating permit to a new facility at East 116th Street along the Calumet River because they say it will bring more air pollution to an already overburdened community. Garza said in an interview, quote, I commend these people. They feel like they're not being heard. No one should have to go on a hunger strike to get people to listen. That's the bottom line. This has gotten out of control. Ben, your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that if Alderman Susan Sadlowski Garza is speaking out about it right now, it's a sign that Mayor Lori Lightfoot may be shifting gears on this. She may be heading in a different direction. Okay, just so folks know, we talked about this with Juanita Irizarry when she was being interviewed. This is a very local issue, but it's a very important issue. It has to do with where cities decide loud, noisy, obnoxious, potentially life-threatening operations are placed. And this is not just something that happens in Chicago, it's something nationwide. So for years and years and years, this shredding operation was on the north side of Chicago in an area that was rapidly gentrifying. The city, over about 10 years ago or so, decided, get it out of there. We want to open that land for development. This is right across the Chicago River. Chicagoans, wake up, everybody, as Harold Melvin in the Blue Note said, right across the Chicago River from the Lincoln Yards, TIF-funded mega project, which is kind of on hold because of the pandemic, but it's coming. So they took the loud, obnoxious shredding operation, which has existed in this area for scores of years, and they go, well, we got to put it somewhere. Let's just shove it out on the southeast side where working class people and poor people and black people and Hispanic people live. And it was an act of convenience. They already moved the garbage truck facility to the south side. Mayor Rahm did that when he was getting Lincoln Yards off the ground. And then he tried to dress it up like it was a great thing for the south side. Hey, south side, you're really lucky. We're taking the garbage trucks that they didn't want on the north side. We're giving them to you. And Chicagoans, sounds good to me. And so
was that an impression of anyone in particular? Ooh, sounds good to me.
If the mayor says so, it must be true. I read it in the Tribune, Ben. So now they're doing the same thing on the southeast side. And there's been opposition to it. And Sue Garza, Alderwoman Garza, is a close ally of Mayor Lori Lightfoot. And Mayor Lori Lightfoot was championing this for a while. But now I get the sense that maybe too much for Mayor Lori Lightfoot to continue. And so Sue Garza is speaking out against it, Sue Sadlowski Garza. So I get a sense that you asked me for the wider political ramifications of this. Mm-hmm. It may mean that Lori Lightfoot backs away from this. We'll have to see.
Okay. And hey, can we put this on a list here of things to do in 2021? Get Sue Garza back on this program.
I've reached out. She's busy. I love Sue Sadlowski Garza, the rock and roll alderman. She loves Tom Petty, ladies and gentlemen. I also reached out to Scotty Wagasback. These are all my old friends, but they're apparently really busy. I'm not going to say that my old friends who are now Lori Lightfoot loyalists don't want to come into Benjarovsky. I'm not going to say that, even though I may have said that.
Yeah. That's how to not get them on the show when you do that. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, you're still my friends. You guys, I'm not that kind of guy, like, throws away friends just because I'm critical of your mayor that you love and you support. We're still friends. I haven't changed. I'm the same guy. You know that. You're all welcome back. I love you all. Hey, man, I love Nick Sposato. Nick and I don't agree on anything. But he stood with the teachers in 2012. I'll never, you know what I mean? That'll always mean a lot to me, so. Come on, guys.
You're the same guy, and I'd say even a little quirkier since you've been in that attic for about a year.
I know. I'm even weirder than I used to be.
Well, you said weirder, I said quirkier,
Yeah, no, but that was nice of you to say quirky as opposed to weird.
Okay, now, earlier today, I found a political ad out of nowhere. Huh? What the? We are nowhere near election season, and honestly, it came to me by surprise. So I grabbed the ad, and we played it right here on the show. It was an ad from a group called Tax March. Tax March, they have launched an ad campaign against 4 Republican members of Congress, including Congressman Adam, I swear I'm not MAGA Kinzinger. So we'll play that ad real quick, and we have more ads to play from Tax March. Ben, I did a little research, all right, and I'll let you know the research here. Let's hear this Kinzinger ad for those who may not have heard it.
During this pandemic, the rich got richer and the well-to-do are doing pretty well. Because politicians like Adam Kinzinger reward them with tax breaks for private jets and yachts. But for the tens of thousands in Illinois out of work due to COVID, Kinzinger's a hard no on relief. With Adam Kinzinger, those with billions hit the jackpot. Those who need relief get jack squat. Tell Kinzinger those
good.
out of work are out of time.
That is good.
Pass COVID relief now.
That's good times.
That made me laugh the second time I heard it.
Ben, how would you rate that ad out of 5 stars, by the way?
Well, if I know nothing about this group, okay? So if this is a MAGA group posing as a lefty group, I give it a negative 100.
Oh, okay.
If it's a legit lefty group, 5.
Well, I'm glad you're admitting the bias. So I have the other ads here, all right? Like I said, I did some research on Tax March. Like they said here, it's an ad campaign against 4 Republican members of Congress. I have 3 more ads to play, and it's the 3 other members of Congress, okay? So they go across the country here. So we heard Illinois. That was Adam Kinzinger, Ben's favorite all of a sudden. Now let's go to some other states here. Ben, I have 3 states here. I have the state of Ohio, the state of Wisconsin, and Maine. Which would you like to hear first?
Maine. I love lobster.
Maine, don't we all? In fact, I'll be eating lobster on my ski trip and drinking a lot of champagne and having caviar as well because I'm bougie now, guys.
He's skiing.
I'm bougie now. Well, at the same time, yes. All right, so you said Maine. Let's hear the ad. I have a feeling it's going to be the same exact ad, but they've just inserted in a new politician here. So let's hear it. And hey, cross your fingers. Hopefully we'll get to hear that jackpot, jack squat line again. So here we go to the state of Maine.
The pain we're feeling couldn't be more personal.
The pandemic putting tens of thousands of Mainers out of work
doesn't get more local.
Business owners struggling and scared.
But after Susan Collins and Mitch McConnell gave corporations a nearly $100 billion tax break, Collins joined McConnell to give them a $500 billion bailout. The corporate donors that gave Collins over $8 million get rewarded. Mainers pay the price. Tell Susan Collins, stop putting corporate donors ahead of Maine.
Oh, wow, a completely different ad there. And Mainers, that's what you call it.
I know, I did not know that. Hey, I agree with, even if it is a MAGA group, I don't know anything about the group. I apologize. I should have done my homework. It's really hard to do the homework, and I just learned about this, but I will do my homework after this. But even if they are a MAGA group, I can't argue with the message. D, I got to tell you, it's speaking to me. And it could be MAGA going, we know how to make Ben really go off the deep end. We'll speak to Ben.
It says they're a progressive group in the story from Shia Campos in Illinois.
Oh, I didn't know. I missed that part. Is this the group that wanted Trump to release his taxes?
Tax March. I'm assuming. I don't know. I just have the ads here, but they do say it's a progressive group. Said it about 3 times on the show today. All right, let's hear. Okay, we got Ohio and Wisconsin. Which state would you like to hear next?
Voted in Ohio. Let's go to Ohio.
All right, we're going to Ohio. The latest ad from Tax March. Ohio, we go.
During this pandemic, the rich got richer and the well-to-do are doing pretty well. See, billionaires have a friend in Rob Portman. He gave them billions in tax breaks for private jets and yachts. But for Ohioans who've lost a job, Portman gets stingy. He thinks it's too generous to help everyone who's struggling. With Portman, those with billions hit the jackpot, but those who need relief get jack squat.
Yeah!
Tell Rob Portman we can't afford to wait. Pass COVID relief now.
There we go.
I'm just noticing that all of these Republicans, and by the way, the same ad can be used against every Republican in Congress. But I'm just noticing that so far, these three Republicans are ones who might either have already voted against Donnie or might vote against him. Just saying, D. I know. I'm just throwing that out there. But once again, it's like, I'm with you 100%. I hope you go after, let's see, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. Who else? Who are some of the real Ted Cruz. Like the old boy down at Josh Hawley in Missouri, the real Trump flag wavers. Just saying, D. Just saying. Go ahead.
Oh, we got
Wisconsin.
a lot of people on the live stream chat are liking these ads here from Tax March.
Speak to me, that's for sure.
We go to Wisconsin. Everybody's wondering, who's Wisconsin? Who's Wisconsin? Well, let's find out. Ben, please, no cheesehead references. Here's the ad from Tax March. We're going to Wisconsin, everybody.
During this pandemic, the rich got richer and the well-to-do are doing pretty well. See, billionaires have a friend in Ron Johnson. He gave them billions in tax breaks for private jets and yachts. But for Wisconsinites who've lost a job, Johnson says we simply can't afford to help those who can't afford much of anything. With Johnson, those with billions hit the jackpot, but those who need relief get jack squat.
Repeat.
Tell Ron Johnson we can't afford to wait. Pass COVID relief now.
Now they won me over. Ron Johnson is a big-time Trumper. Loves Donnie. Waving that flag. So, it's great. Well, the eyes were speaking. Gee, it just dropped something. I don't know what it was. I hope it's not a phone.
Your camera's completely gone. Where did you go? Ben, are you there?
Oh, it's the camera.
Oh, my God.
Oh, I don't worry about that. The camera.
I can't see you at all.
What is show? By the way, D, could you imagine if we were doing this live on the camera?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You keep, hey, people, get ready. We're gonna do this now. Dennis. We're gonna eventually do this. Dennis is slacking or something. Dude, your camera just fell on the ground.
I know. I don't know where it is.
Oh,
Should I go get it?
No.
Anyway, they won me over. They won me over with the Ron Johnson one. I got to admit, those were speaking. Each one of those, three of them were the same. Basically, they just substituted the names. But for some reason, they got a little more specific for Maine. Did you notice that, D? So anyway, here. Yes, I'm with them 100%.
Here, and there. That's your Benjarovsky show for today, February 11th. Ben, fix your camera. Remember, you can download previous Benjarovsky shows, so much more. And there we go. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, God. Hey, everybody.
I know, live stream chat listeners. That was something else. Okay. Remember, you can download previous Benjarovsky shows, Benny J bonus interviews, and so much more. ChicagoReader.com, wherever else you download podcasts. Check it out. This weekend's Benny J bonus interviews. All right. We have stuff available for download every single day, literally every day for the last 2 years. We're crazy, guys. All right. So go check those out. Remember, you can send us an email, BennyJShow@gmail.com. Social media at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, and you can call us 708-658-4788. That number again is 708-658-4788. We would love to hear from you.
All right, I want to thank Micah. Did a great job. Love having him on. I should not let so much time go in between Micah's appearances. He's got a good sense of humor, and of course, I want to thank the man, the myth, the legend, the pride of joy of Alton, Illinois, who will be beginning his skiing career this weekend. He's going to become a champion Olympic skier, probably do a little snowboarding as well. The man that, what was this, that speeder? There's a skier named Spider something or other. That's the Spider skier and Micah call the doctor. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash, stay safe on the slopes. See everybody on Tuesday. Take care.
If you want to talk about these separate issues, there will be a time and a place for that, but you are out of order, sir.
During this pandemic, the rich got richer and the well-to-do are doing pretty well.